Hey all, it's Lawrence from Express Unity, and today we're gonna get back into it. Gonna work on our multiplayer game a little bit more. I do apologize for the delay in the next tutorial. I've just been really busy with work and a few other things going on, so yep, we're gonna finally get back into it, and we're gonna work on our weapon systems and our inverse kinematics for that system. Now, before we go on, I have upgraded the project to Unity 2018.3.6, and when I updated that, we get a whole lot of obsolete errors down here. Well, not errors, warnings. It should still run in this version, PlayFab, but just in case, I believe if you go to PlayFab, the editor extension, and click Upgrade, and confirm the upgrade, it should hopefully fix all of that. File. No idea what that is about. Hopefully it still imports. Alright, well, I mean, for making PlayFab, this game must be configured. Okay, so we gotta set all of this again. Okay, so hopefully that fixes most of the warnings. Just updating the updating PlayFab through the editor extension. So one other thing I did do is I ended up buying an asset pack for some weapons. So this is around $20. There is a light version, however, that is completely free, and I will link this in the description if you want to use these as well. So the first thing I want to do is basically just drag out one of these weapon prefabs just to see it, how we can get it to work. So might try and find a smallish gun. Okay, here's a pistol. We'll give that one a shot. So let's just move this to where the player is. Is the player even centered? The player's not centered, so let's just move them both. Okay. So I think the weapons are a pretty decent scale already. I don't really think we need to mess with the scales. Plus the art style of the weapons is very similar to the model that we ended up getting, so I'm very happy with that. So there's a few things that I want to do. The first thing on this weapon, there's probably going to be a few meshes. No, there's actually only one mesh. Okay. So I'm going to add a box collider, and I'm just going to scale it. Or another thing we could do is just remove that component. We could make a box collider on the mesh, and we can drag that box collider out into the main object. Oh, actually, you know what? It won't let us do that because the new version of Unity has the whole prefab manager. So we're going to need to... Hey, you know what? Maybe it will. Hold on, I want to quickly try something. If we go into box collider and we copy the component, will it then let us paste component? Yeah, okay. So it lets us do that, just not drag it. So in the resources folder, this is where we're going to drag our weapons. So I don't know. Let's call it weapon underscore. I want to give him a name. I'm just not sure what to call him. I'll call it Gold Fox. So we'll drag the Gold Fox into the resources. Would you like to create new or original prefab or variant? Okay, so we want to create an original prefab. Alrighty. So we also want to give it some tags. So I'm going to call this tag weapon, and we want to give it the weapon tag. We're also going to give it a new layer called weapon, like so. Yes, and that should be good. So yeah, when there's this little drop down here that says overrides, just go apply all, and that should apply the new prefab settings with the new Unity. Alright, so there's actually some stuff I want to teach you now. So we're going to be using abstract classes to create a weapons system. So in our scripts folder, let's create a new weapons folder. Inside this weapons folder, I'm going to create a new weapon class. So just wait for Visual Studio to open up. Now, instead of it being public class weapon, we want to make it a public abstract class weapon. And I'll show you what this does in a sec. Basically, what we can do is, let's for example, make a new public abstract void, and let's call it weapon update, right? And we close this line like so. And what that'll allow us to do is we can then call weapon update inside the update. We get no errors. And then if we go and let's create a new folder. And I'm just going to call it guns. And inside of this, we create a new script called Gold Fox. Unity's compiling, let it compile, there it is. So if we create a new script called Gold Fox, oh come on. Unity still has its compiling problems. So Gold Fox. Alright. So instead of it inheriting from mono behavior, we want to inherit from weapons. And you'll see that it gives us an error because it doesn't implement our current abstract members. So we can right click that and we can implement abstract class. You can see that it's implemented weapon update. So we can remove the current update because this weapon update is called already inside the update of our main class. So what this allows us to do is basically code different logic per gun if we need it. So we can have a base class here for the weapons, and this base class can handle shooting, the bullet speed, the velocity, whatever we need it to do. But say we have a gun that's some sort of legendary weapon out on the field that does some crazy animation and does other things, changes terrain or something like that. We can give that specific weapon different logic. So we can do the same for the start. We can make a public abstract void, and we'll call it weapon start. Then we can call weapon start inside the main class's start function. And we can do the exact same thing here. Oops, and remove it. Except we will call it weapon start instead of weapon update. Now we don't need to have the start or update function at all, because now we have our own weapon start and weapon update. So with this being done, let's go ahead and think about how we can get this to work. So what we want is when the player is close to it, we want to press E on the weapon, and then we want to, it's compiling again. And then we want to basically assign the player that weapon. However, because of some RPC issues that I've found in the past making my own guns, we're not going to use the same weapon. Basically what we're going to do is remove this weapon and then instantiate it again around the player, and then assign the 2 points that we had, or the inverse kinematics, to that gun area so that our hands will move. So let's give that a shot, right? So just trying to think how we can do this. And I think basically alright, so the first thing that we're actually going to want to do is add a Photon view. A Photon view. Okay, so seems like we're getting some issues with Photon now with the new version. So I had a friend tell me how to fix this. Let's see if I can remember. So I believe we're going to Photon, real time. Is it real time? Libs. Let's just type in Photon view in the search bar and then open up the Photon view script. And over here where it says Photon networking in the add component menu, we just want to remove this little bit there and save it. So that should fix up Photon, and this will only happen if you have the newest version of Unity. So we'll just let that compile. And there it is. So now we want to use this Photon view. Alright, cool. So another thing that we want to do is we want to add the Golden Fox weapon script. We're also going to apply this prefab. And we may even... Actually, no, we won't do that for now. Okay, so... let me just think how we can do this. So we have our movement. I think we might want to start... Let's create a new player script. And let's call this script Gun Manager. I think that'll be a pretty good name for it. And then in the robot or our player, are we also going to want to give our players a tag of player? And I might just rename it just to robot, and then we will apply that. And let's go ahead and add the gun manager into our player and open it up. So what we want to do is basically have a ray cast. So let's create a new ray and make this equal to, actually, the camera is within our, is it? Yeah, it's within our robot, I believe. That's where we put it. We put it in the head, the neck. Yeah, there it is. Alright, so we're actually going to want to give the camera a tag of main camera. And make sure the main camera in the lobby is not tagged. So now we can apply that. That should be good to go. Now, if we go inside, we can just basically say camera.main dot screen point to ray, and we want to get the input dot mouse position, and then we want to create another raycast hit, call it just hit, and it will say if physics dot raycast, and then we want to pass our ray, then out hit, and then we want to give it a distance. So maybe a distance of 3 units will be a good pickup distance. Alrighty, so for now, what I'm basically going to do is say something like this. If hit dot collider dot tag is equal to weapon, then I want to destroy. Actually, we might need to be using Photon, and then we also want to use Photon dot real time, or pun rather, and then mono behavior pun, and then I believe we can say Photon network dot destroy, and then we want to say hit dot collider dot tag, or rather dot get component, and then we want to get the photon view, and that should destroy the current weapon. So now we want to create a new RPC. So pun RPC, we want to say void claim weapon, and we basically, let me think here. Maybe we don't even need to destroy it. Just trying to think. Let's let's try and RPC a parent, setting the parent. So let's just say hit dot collider dot game object dot set, no sorry, dot transform dot set parent, and oh sorry, no, we don't want to do it there. We want to do this inside the RPC, and we want to set the parent to the current game object. So then over here we want to say photon view dot RPC, and the method name is going to be claim weapon, and we're going to target everybody and just leave the parameter as 0. So another thing we want to do is say if photon view dot is mine. That way we don't get anything confusing weapons with anyone else. Let's see. So let's pass an ID through the RPC, and then this ID should be hit.collider.get component photon view, and I think it's what is it? I think it's view ID that we want. The ID of the photon view per room. Yeah, so view ID, and then we can say photon view dot find, and it's going to want an ID, so we just pass in the ID, and then we can say dot game object. So we'll basically just do the rest of it like that. So photon view dot find ID dot game object, and that should find us the current weapon. Hopefully. Alright, so another thing we need to do is actually give this a key. So you don't really want this to run every frame, so I'm just going to say if input dot get key down, and I'm just going to say keycode dot e. Alright, so just testing this for now. What I'm basically expecting is when we press E on that particular weapon, it should start following us around because it's parented to us. So let me just okay, we've got nothing to apply in there, nothing to apply in there, good. I'll just disable that. And in our scenes, let's go to our free-for-all game mode. And let's just drag and drop a few of the weapons. Like so. We'll give it a save. And then we'll go back to the Photon scene. We'll go play. And if all went well, we'll just try this locally first, but we should have that particular weapon parented when we press E near it. So over here, oh, seems like we have something weird happening. Oh wait, no, it's our animations. That's right. I said that we were going to fix that later on, so we're going to need to do that. Wait, why do we can turn around, but we can't move left to right. Alright, anyway, we'll fix that later. So if I click E... Okay. So the gun is parented onto us. So now let's build... just build and run. And hopefully that parent is synchronized with all the other players. Let it compile. Alright, so let's go ahead and make 2 clients. Click login. Alright, we'll go create and join free-for-all. So I'm on top of the other dude. So I'm just going to look at, I'll go a bit further back. And I'll tab into the other one. Yeah, this is going to be a bit difficult because my mouse is nowhere near it. Let's just go into that. Right, let's see if I can manage to... Okay. So the syncing is working. So the gun is moving with the player on both screens, so that's good. However, there now seems to be an animation issue. So let's quickly look at what we've done with the animation, because I think... Sorry, I think I accidentally muted my mic. So that's one thing that we didn't check. Alright, yeah, we didn't check if animations were syncing. So our animator view has layers disabled, so let's change it to discrete, and it has move disabled, so let's change that to discrete. Basically what discrete does is only update that animation when its state is changed. We can make it continuous, but then that's basically unnecessary bandwidth being sent to players. Alright, so syncing of the gun parent works, which means this gives us a lot of options now. So we could do something where we can give the gun an owner, and then if it has an owner, we no longer want someone to pick it up. Or this is what I wanted to do because I find it fun when games have this sort of action. Or we can make it players can steal each other's guns. So if a player runs past an opponent and presses E on the gun he's holding, he can actually steal the weapon. So I'm not going to add any kind of limitations to who can own the gun. If you guys wanted that, all you literally need to do is make some kind of game object here. Call it owner or something like that. And you'd probably want to set it to default to null. And then basically what you would want to do is say something like if current gun has owner, so you would need to sync whenever this value gets changed. If it currently has an owner, or you could even just give it a bool that goes true or false. So if it has an owner, then basically don't do any of the following. If it doesn't have an owner, then run all the code that sets the parent, sets this and that. But I don't want to do any of that because I think it's going to be freaking hilarious seeing people steal weapons off of each other. So, gonna leave it like that. Now, what we want it to do. Let's see. So I'm gonna enable the gun and I'm going to parent it to the hand. So left shoulder, right arm, there are a lot of bones on this. Right hand, and then there are all the fingers. So, if we just parent this to his hand for now, and reset the position, and basically, you want to position the gun now in a way where the camera will see the weapon and his hands will move to it. So if we go to his neck, head, and camera and enable it, I basically want to move the gun in a position where the camera can see it. Alright, so that is a little too far to the center, but need maybe a bit more height. Alright, so now the gun is a little too far away, so we'll move it close. Maybe too close. Alright, so that might be good. And then what we will basically do is make it so his hands will basically move to the current position of the weapon. So what I'm going to do now is create a new empty game object, and I'll call this weapon hold. Basically gonna copy the current transform and paste it, paste the values there so it's positioned where we basically want the guns to spawn. I'm now going to remove the parent for that weapon and disable the camera. And then I'm just going to apply all the changes we just made. Alright, cool. That's a problem with Unity and it has nothing to do with us. I just hope it applied what we wanted it to apply. Okay. So, now we want to create, where is it? In our gun manager, we're going to create a public game object and we're going to call it hold position. And this is going to be the new empty game object we just made. Once it compiles. So yeah, basically, if you guys haven't realized this weapon part of the tutorial series is going to be fairly long. Just because there's a lot of little parts we need to do to make this a proper system. We're not going to just be adding a button on the player that spawns bullets out of his chest. We're going to be making a proper weapon system with different weapon values per weapon, different particle effects. You know, we're going all out. This, like I said, I don't know how long this multiplayer tutorial series will be, but hopefully by the end of it, a lot of you guys will have a lot more experience into the multiplayer world. I know when I started learning multiplayer that all I had to go off was documentation, and that wasn't very helpful for me. If I had something like my own tutorial series, not to brag or anything, I probably would have been better off. Alright, so we now have our weapon hold position, and that looks all good. So, what I want to do now, back into the game manager, before we set the parent, or rather after we set the parent, let's do this, because we're going to be using this value a few times. Let's create a new game object, call it gun, and we're going to make it equal to the photon.find.game object. That way we can just say gun.transform, and we don't need to keep calling the photon.find, because that's a pretty taxing function. So now after we set the parent, let's transform dot position, and let's equal the position to the weapon. What did we call it? Oh, hold position. I thought I called it weapon hold, but alright, hold position will do. Hold position dot transform dot position. We're also going to want to say gun dot transform dot rotation equals hold position dot transform dot rotation. Okay, so now when we pick the gun up, it should be placed into the current position that we set. So I don't think we need to apply anything. Don't think we need to apply anything here. Just disable both of these objects, save the Unity scene, and run. We'll create this join. We should really make a... Alright, there it is. So it's currently... hold on. So it is in the right area. The rotation is off. I'm just gonna quickly check. Oh, wait. Didn't parent... Oh, wait, did we, Okay. So we want to actually set the parent to the hold position dot transform as well. And I believe that should have fixed all that was happening there. Yeah, so what we're going to want to do as well is freeze the mouse as well and make a little crosshair, because it's currently testing all this is really awkward because you need to get the mouse in such a position where you can actually aim. Okay. So if we just press E on it. Okay. So let's see where it's parented now. Should be, okay, so it's parented in the correct area. Let me just see what the rotation is for that hold object. Okay, so it seems like the actual hold object is being affected by the hand. Yeah, so that basically means if we move this, that gun, yeah. Okay, so that's not what we want to do. Yeah, we don't want the gun to follow the hand, we want the hand to follow the gun. So, back to the robot. We want to enable him. You never want to apply him while he's disabled. So, we're actually going to make this object just part of his... okay. Where is it? So we'll just put it down here, I guess. And we just want to... is that it? Is it applied? I think that should be it. So if we just go back to our scene. And there's our weapon hold. It shouldn't have changed. Nope. Okay. Cool. So we could technically... So, just for a test, let's create a new public game object, and we'll call this left hand. Just for now, this will only be local side, but if we say left hand dot transform dot position equals hold position dot transform dot position, the hand should move to around about where the gun is. This won't be some miracle work and the hand will be perfect. We're gonna need to adjust offsets and whatnot in order for it to actually be perfect. But we'll just apply that, disable him. And if we run the game now and pick up a gun, that hand that we set up, which by the way we still have to change because we only temporarily set that up. Okay, so it's currently set to that position. So we okay, there we go. So yeah, as you can see, it's on the current hold position, which is fine. If we go out, okay, so it's kind of working, but we probably want it to be again offset, so the gun is like that or something. So we have a lot of tweaking to do, but you can start to see how this whole concept is going, you know? So he's still walking with the animations, he's holding the gun, and then this weapon hold object, we can even animate it to have recoil, and then when it has recoil, his whole arm will move with the recoil. So yeah, you can see how this starts to work, and it's looking pretty good. Even when the gun is close up like that, it's actually doing a pretty good job of moving that arm. So you know, that's probably still a little weird like that. We're gonna want the gun to be in view of the camera. You know, but you can start to see how it's working. So we're not gonna mess with much of the inverse kinematic just yet, as I just want to get the weapon systems working. But that seems to be it for now. We could thinking we could just put this just real quick. I just want to say we could put this just in the normal update so everyone sees that position. So if we build and run, we'd have to wait for it to compile. So build and run. we'll play this. And play that one, and we're going to log into our game. Oops. So we're just gonna get one of the guys. Yeah, so you can see that the hand is now, it's not truly syncing, but you know, it'll do. And there we have it. So the gun is attached to that area. The player can see it. And that is good. I mean, not perfect, but it's getting there. And also the animations are now working. So you can see this guy is running around and the other dude is seeing him fine. If I stop running, he's walking. If I let go, he's stopped. And you can see it, the animation is synchronized smoothly when we run and walk, but not when we stop. So again, maybe next episode we will fix that up. Kind of forgot to do that this episode. But we're getting there. The weapon system is on its way to becoming something great. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, really sorry for the delay. Just I'm working a lot more lately, so hoping to try at least one video a week now that I am a lot busier. But yeah, definitely stick around because there are more tutorials to come. And remember that if you want any personal help, I do have a Discord server, and myself and a few other members would probably be more than happy to help you out if you have any problems. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you